and each ticket purchased, proceeds from that ticket goes directly to the purchasing of a cane for a student at the school. So your contribution goes directly to assisting a student with a cane. So we are trying to get at least 25 canes. So we invite you all, whether you can make it to the play or not, to buy one of the tickets. Buy it for someone. You can use it as a gifting. We're fresh out of the Christmas season where persons were being merry and having good cheer and supporting each other. So we encourage you to continue that spirit of giving with your purchase of a ticket. You can always contact any member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston to find out how it is that you can make use of this opportunity to serve persons, students in the blind community. Right? I encourage you not to miss this opportunity. This quarter, we intend to engage our SLP programs even more. We are looking forward to having our Terrific Kids program in this quarter. We're also looking forward to our oratory contest. We're also looking forward to seeing how we can revive the debating competition among our key clubs, and we are considering extending it to our CKIs this year as well. We ask that you look out for that information and that you support us in those ventures as well. Thank you so much for joining us for our first meeting, and it is always our pleasure to have you on as we continue to work together in service. And at this time, I'm going to be inviting our Vice President, VP Andrew Burton, to do the official welcome of persons on the platform, as well as to do the roll call of clubs. VP Andrew.
Good evening again, everyone. It's my task to lead the roll call this evening. So please, when you hear your segment or as it applies, please unmute and share a word of greeting or introduce your delegation as well. If you're here alone, share your name, let us know who you are and who invited you, etc. All right. I open up with the clubs outside of Jamaica. Is there anybody fellowshipping with us from a Kiwanis club outside of the Jamaica district? Outside of Jamaica. No, nobody from clubs outside of Jamaica. Anybody with us from clubs in Division 25? Anyone of the 28 presently on from a club in Division 25? No? Anybody from Division 24? No one from Division 24 here yet. Anybody from Division 23 East?
Happy New Year, VP Uncle Andrew.
Happy New Year, DLG.
It is great to join your meeting, and I know you're having a good time. I noticed that President don't call it an uncle, and he don't seem to know how you enjoy that, uncle. But never mind. It is great to. Can you imagine? You were a kid, but when I met you, and you're now telling them to call you uncle, and I'm still around. Never mind. It is great to join you. Thank you, Uncle Willie, for reminding me. And I really had a good time with Kingston Club during Christmas because that's the only service I went to. I usually do elderlies, but great to have been at Osenham, and not to mention Francis. Lord, there's always education there along with so many years of experience. So thank you for that experience and for the project. I bring you special greetings from the Kiwanis Club of New Kingston and wish for you a bumper crop for 2026 for all your dreams and aspirations. And I know Kingston Club is good for that. President Veronica and the Kiwanis Club of New Kingston wish you all that is good. And I'm no telling you that there are four of us. I'm sure others will be joining. There's Chairman Marlene, there is Chairman Chelsea Cohen, and Kiwanian Claudette Walker. And I'm DLG Gerson. Have a very productive meeting. Thank you.
Auntie G.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, TG.
That sounds
New
weird.
title, new title. Thank you so much, DLG Gertlin, and welcome to your delegation. We heard quite a few names. Welcome to our
Thank you.
meeting. And of
Thanks.
course, thank you too, especially for joining us in our Christmas Day.
I promise you, I've done
Great.
it for so many years.
Yes, I
And I
know.
will continue as long as I'm able to do so. Thank
Yes.
you again, Willie.
You're most welcome, Gerson. Most welcome.
All right. That's Division 23 East. Anyone else from Division 23 East before I move on? No? Anyone representing a club from Division 23 West? '23 West.
Good evening, fellow Kiwanians.
Good evening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
This is President Ornette from the Kiwanis Club of Sunshine City, Portmore. We are happy to be with you this evening in our delegation. At the moment, there are about 6 of us. We're expecting others to join. And we really want to thank you for the invitation, and we're looking forward to an informative meeting.
Thank you, President Ornette. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, you and your delegation. Thank you. Anybody else from Division 23 West? And rounding up the divisions, we bring it home, Division 23 Central.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is it VP, Dr. Andrew Burke?
VP, uncle, you can't leave the doctor out. I heard
All
enough of that
of-
earlier today.
all
I
of
accept the others.
all of the above, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so I am DP Eurydice from the Kiwanis Club of 23 Central, Surrey Online.
Yes.
And on behalf of President Maxine, we wish you a wonderful, successful, happy New Year. And at this time, we have a delegation of 2 to include DLG Desmond, who I'm going to borrow from you, Lord. My interclub number. So thank you so much for having us, and we look forward to this meeting. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome to borrow that one anytime. Officially borrow. All right. Anybody else from our home division, Division 23 Central? No. Okay. Any of our SLPs here with us online?
Yes. Hi. Good night, everyone.
Hi, good night,
Happy
Kalila.
My name is Kalila Johnson, and I'm the president of Dunukar Technical High School.
Yes.
And there's only 2 of us tonight. The others will be joining shortly.
All right. Welcome, Kalila. Thanks for joining us.
EP Andrew, Kingston College is also represented
Yes, I'm
by
seeing Ray
Ray
J.
Williams. Yes.
Williams, right. Second, no. Ray J is a PRO?
Yeah.
Current Public Relations Officer. Yes, I was just double checking his title. Welcome, Ray J, representing Kiwanis Club of Kingston College. Kingston College Key Club. Right. Any other of our SLPs here thus far? I'm sure others will join, hopefully. Any guests of Kiwanians who are on the chat who've been specially invited to hear about our topic this evening?
VP Andrew.
Yes, DP.
Good evening, everyone. Not really a guest, and I know you have already welcomed her through DLG Gertlin, but I want to especially welcome my big friend from New Kingston, Claudette Walker. Haven't seen you in a long time on the platform. Glad to see you, Claudette.
Well, go down for New Year.
Because you don't look for her. She usually into club. You don't always see her. And while I'm doing this, sorry to interrupt you, but guess what? I have to say thank you to Uncle Ralston because he picked me up. It must have vexed me because I didn't call his name. But never mind, my friend Raleigh.
Uncle is Rallo.
Raleigh, I call him, but I have to give him uncle this evening.
All right.
Well, you said DLG Gertlin, maybe the reason I've been missing Claudette is because I've been distracted by you. But now that Rollo is picking you up, I have time to see everybody else.
You're too kind. And guess what? It's a long time anybody pay me that type of compliment. So thank you very much.
Right. I see one more SLP member, at least one more of Kingston College Key Club. Akeem has joined the meeting. Welcome, Akeem Gordon. And before I hand the mic back over to President to continue the proceedings, special welcome to Maurice Roberts, our guest speaker this evening. We'll get an official welcome and introduction of him, but economist, lecturer, and Guyanese native, who will share with us on our topic, our main topic of discussion this evening. So welcome again, everyone. I hand back over to you, President Uncle Zuri.
Thank you, VP Uncle Andrew. I see that you have made the name official, so my apologies for not saying it earlier. VP Uncle.
You've been forgiven. Thank you.
And I'm going to make special mention of Mr. Alanda Campbell. He is on. He was invited to come and see what our meeting is about, and I hope that his interest will be piqued, so he moves from just guest to becoming a member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston very soon. Thank you, Mr. Campbell, for joining this evening. And I do notice that you didn't hear.
Come on, thank you for the thank you for the intro. Good night, everyone, and happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. And I noticed I didn't hear anything when we asked for Division 23 West, but I'm seeing that someone from Division 23 West is on. So welcome to those persons as well. So we move to apologies for absence, and I must apologize on behalf of President-elect Arsenio Sawyers. He is currently away and will be rejoining us next week, or it should be the week after, but he'll be rejoining us soon. We wish him all the very best until he comes back to us. As usual, I'm going to ask DLG Willie if he received any apologies for absence.
Yes, I have two apologies. One from DP, Director DP Richard Reese, and one from past Treasurer Orville Lewis.
All right, thank you. To the other members of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, I'm going to ask if anyone reached out to you with an apology, and if they did, if you give you the opportunity now to share. All right, seeing that there are no other apology for absence, we move to recognition of birthdays
President, I think we should recognize DLG Trevor Christian, who's currently abroad, but he's joined the meeting.
DLG Trevor.
Don't forget the E.
DLGE Trevor
Don't forget
Christian.
the E.
Welcome, sir, and we do hope that you have a fun and productive stay with us at this evening's meeting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Road yard.
Right. DP Newton, I suspect that you will be doing the recognition of birthdays and anniversaries this evening, so over to you, sir.
He has actually handed it over to me this time. So
Oh,
I'll take it. We can give DP Newton a rest. Thank you, sir. So to recognize, we have one anniversary to celebrate that's listed here. Before I do so, I do notice somebody very special in the chat. Faculty advisor, well, don't know if she'll accept the title still, but faculty advisor for life, Aldi Douglas of the Noon has joined us. Welcome. I just want to celebrate with Kiwani Michael Archer and his wife, Deborah, on their anniversary, January 12th. So Kiwani and Michael Archer and his wife celebrate their anniversary. That will be next Monday.
No, January 1.
Oh, January 1. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mistakenly read it. January 1. So they celebrated it on New Year's Day. Thank you, DP Newton. And we want to celebrate with him and his wife who celebrated their anniversary on New Year's Day. Is there anybody else on the call who is celebrating a birthday, has an anniversary, has any special occasion, special event to share with us? No, but I think collectively we all celebrated a Happy New Year recently, and we inadvertently celebrated with Kiwani and Michael and his wife on the same day. So Happy New Year again to everybody, and I hand the mic back over to President.
thank you, VP Andrew. And I will pass the microphone along this
President
time.
Drury, President Drury, at this time, perhaps you want to remember this distinguished member who was hospitalized. Jeffrey Madden. He had a stroke in his right arm, so he's hospitalized currently at Andrews Memorial Hospital. But we spoke to him and he's in high spirits.
So we extend our best wishes to him. And I'm going to ask our members to, if you can, and if it is convenient, to reach out to him and to give him our best wishes collectively and individually. Thank you for that, dear Julie. Right, so now I'm going to be passing on the microphone to DLG Desmond Bachelor for Kiwani's Education.
Thank you, President Zuri. Good evening, fellow Kiwanians, SLP members and guests. Let me say Happy New Year to you, and we wish all the best for everyone. The topic is vacancy in the office of President. And I've selected this because I know that at least one club has the experience of resignation or change in the office of president so far within Division 23 Central. So I just say, where there's a vacancy in the position of president, the president-elect, the immediate past president, or the vice president will fill the position as per the club policy. And the mandatory policy 3 will state which of these offices, whether it's president-elect, immediate past president, or vice president, will automatically become the president. If it is not so explicitly stated, then you'll have to decide, and perhaps as in it is implicit really in the order in which it appears here, president-elect, immediate past president, or vice president, that it could fall in that order based on who is available and willing to take over the position, the leadership as president. I'd say I think I mentioned at some previous times that there have been instances where vacancies have arisen, and whether it be for director's position and so on, that persons have been appointed, and we're just saying that that really will conflict with the bylaws. But for all other officers and directors, new elections will be held within 60 days, provided at least 14 days notice of the meeting and nomination is given to the members. However, if the secretary is appointed, the president will appoint someone to fill the vacancy subject to the approval of the board. And that is it for Kiwani's education. President, thank you.
Ask a question, please.
Yes, sir.
Is the immediate past president takes priority over the vice president in the succession?
No, you have to go to the club policy. And the club policy, in this particular instance, it shows that the vice president will take over the position as president. So the mandatory policy, which is mandatory, it states who should succeed, who will replace in the case of a vacancy. And it is explicit. But I'm just saying, in some cases, it may not be so stated as to the position that will automatically take over. And where that is not the case, we look back to Article 5.4, which says the president-elect, then if not available, the immediate past president or the vice president. As I said, it doesn't actually say that, but in the order in which it appears, it is implicit that you go in that order to select who should replace, if it is not so stated in the mandatory policy.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. Thank you, DLG Desmond. And for those persons who may be very curious, you can be assured, though, that that resignation was not from me, and you can always come to our meetings on Tuesdays, and I'll still be here with you, so you will still come, and I'll still extend pleasantries. Don't worry, I'm still here for the long run. And now we go to our main event. And this week we are looking at how has oil impacted the lives of our people, and we're going to be answering that question from a Guyanese perspective. And to do the introduction of our speaker, I now invite DP Stewart to do the introduction.
Thank you, President Zuri. I'm just confirming, is everybody hearing me fine?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, this evening is it is my pleasure this evening to introduce our guest speaker. I didn't put this on the flyer, but as you know, as some of you know, maybe some don't, he is a member of our club. So he is also a Kiwanian. And that is, we got to talking some time ago, some months ago, and I questioned him about some of the things happening in Guyana as a result of the oil find. And we agreed from then that when the time was right, he would share some of his feelings about it. So the opportunity has now arisen, and I'm very happy to say thank you to Maurice for coming forward and to be willing to share with us this evening. Now, he didn't give me a lot of fancy stuff about himself, but he did give me some information. I think I put on the flyer that he's an economist, a lecturer, and a native of Guyana. That was important because we wanted to make sure you knew what he's gonna say was authentic. However, let me just add a few more points. I could add that he has been living in Jamaica since 1991. I didn't ask him, but I kind of figure he's probably married to a Jamaican, but I didn't ask him that. So if I'm wrong with that, about that, Maurice, you can correct me. He worked as an economist with the Guyana State Planning Secretariat, among other national entities. And in terms of his role there, he has had some pretty varied roles. He was a revenue accountant with the Guyana Power and Light Limited, and he describes himself as an economist, an economic planner, and he was involved in finalizing public sector projects for national budget preparation and the preparation of monitoring these projects thereafter. In Jamaica, he has taught at various schools and universities. So I'll mention a few. One is Jamaica College, and one is Campion College, and also the College of Mercy, Alpha. He is a full-time lecturer at the International University of the Caribbean. Right, so I thought that we'd put that in. And in terms of his role, he has served as regional governance manager for Kingston and St. Thomas at the Jamaica Social Development Commission, the SDC. And this involved developing the community-based organization structures that can manage economic growth and development in the communities in these parishes. So you can see, and let me add also, basically project management. That's another obvious key areas of expertise. So you can see from his background that he's certainly qualified to speak on what the topic is this evening, because what we're trying to see is what kind of impact, and you can hardly talk about impact if you don't talk about the economic impact. So with those few words of introduction, Maurice, I'd like to ask you can take over. I've already made you a co-host if you have any audio visuals that you want to share, but the mic is all yours. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Stuart. I just want to say all the best and a happy and pleasant New Year to all the members of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and to all the other members club that are present here this evening. The topic is one of those topics that I am very, very what you would say, concerned about.
Maurice, are you gonna put on your video or you?
Yes, I'm going to put on my.
So come when you reach at Dunrobin, and I'll start walk when you reach Dunrobin.
Newton, your mic is open. Newton, your mic was open. Yes, are you gonna open your mic, open your video?
Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Yes, as I was saying, I am very deeply concerned about economic growth and development, not only in Guyana, but across the Caribbean, especially at this time when there's so much at stake, given the recent intervention by the United States in Venezuela. But to the topic, the cover of my presentation today is looking at oil now. Is it a curse or a blessing? And I'm looking at the Guyana experience. Is it a curse or a blessing? And I want to start with my first slide, which is showing some milestones of oil exploration in Guyana. As a matter of fact, this doesn't show the entire degree to which, we believe that, people believe that they had oil in Guyana, dating back to the 18th and 19th century. But these are just some of the recent license granted to look and to see if we had oil in Guyana. If you ask any Guyanese, they would tell you even before oil was discovered that we know and we believe strongly that there was always oil reserves in Guyana in commercial quantities. We have Venezuela sitting to the west of us with the most reserves in the world. We have Suriname sitting to the east of us with some reserves already being exploited. Brazil is to the south of us, also have oil reserves. And we for years have been there, always thinking that somewhere along the line, we are going to find oil. And as you can see from the milestones in 2015, ExxonMobil announced the discovery of more than 90 meters of sand-bearing sandstone reserves in the Liza 1 well within the Stabroek Block. Now, what is the Stabroek Block? Let us look at that. What is the Stabroek Block? The Stabroek Block sits approximately 120 miles on the coast of the Atlantic. And it is this block that you can see in red, if you can see the map of Guyana, it is that area where all the oil that we have discovered is being exploited and being sold and creating the type of we are looking forward with a lot of anticipation to the rapid development of the country. Now, the oil that has been discovered in Guyana is defined as sweet crude. What is meant by that is that sweet oil is easy to process. The oil is easy to process and refined, and is of a very high quality due to its low sulfur that is contained therein. This characteristic makes it sweet oil more desirable in the refining industry, leading to higher prices and more favorable refining processes. So that is where we have discovered oil in 2015. Now, who are the main actors in the oil industry that is doing this exploitation? We have ExxonMobil controls approximately 45% stake. Hess controls about 30% stake. Both of these are US-based companies. And then we have China National Offshore Oil Corporations. They control a 35% stake. Note well, as I'm including at the bottom, the government and people of Guyana has a 0% stake in this production process and ownership at this point in time. 0%. Now, the oil fields or the oil finds in the Stabroek Block, where the production is taking place, consist of 8 wells that have been exploited to date. And the 8 wells are listed here: Liza 1, Liza Deep, Primero, etc. So these wells have been the source of the production that has been taking place in the Stabroek Block. To date, I think that there are 50 wells that have been discovered that have the capacity to produce an economic flow of oil in the country. What is the agreement that the government of Guyana has with the main actor, which is ExxonMobil? You know, what is the contract agreement? What does it say? And it indicates to us that the PSA agreement, that the profits will be split  between government and contractors. After investments are recovered by these contractors, Guyana can recover a ceiling of up to 75% of, no, Guyana can recover a 50% share of the profits after the investors are able to recover up to 75% of the production barrel for a given period. So the 50% is not automatic. It comes with a condition that the investors pay it for its investment up to 75% of the produced barrel for a given period. The company also pays Guyana royalty of 2% of the value of oil produced and sold. So we get a 2% royalty on each barrel of oil sold. And this is paid every quarter. It is expected that after costs, all of this 75% costs, etc., are recovered, Guyana's share is expected to increase substantially. Further to that, Guyana oil production has seen significant growth since oil production started in 2020. In as much as the oil in commercial quantities were discovered in 2015, actual production started in 2020. And as you can see from the data provided, is that it began in 2020 with only 75,000 barrels per day. And then that grew to 90 in 2021, 2022. And then by 2023, it was 98,000 barrels per day. And then by 2024, production reached 645,000 barrels per day. It means that we are exploiting those wells that I showed you earlier. And there are now more wells coming on stream, hence the production capacity has increased to this point in time in 2024. In 2025, it is expected to be about 6,750,000 barrels per day. And we expect that by 2027, that the barrels per day to increase to 1.3 million barrels per day. What does this mean? This means that even at this point in time, Guyana is one of the highest producing oil producing countries per capita than most of the original seasoned oil producing member countries. So the process of oil development in Guyana is moving very, very quickly, and we expect that this would ensure that, Guyana is in a position to increase its economic growth and development. What are some of the revenues that we are getting from 2021 to 2025? When we started in 2021, our revenues was a mere $409 million US. And today, 2025, it has grown to approximately 2.5 billion, 2.54 billion US in revenue that we are earning on an annual basis. And by the time you reach the 2027, we were able to produce that 1.3 million barrels of oil. We expect the revenue to grow even further. Even as you can see from the data just provided, even as we see the revenue expanding substantially from this era of oil that we are experiencing, you find that the government is still borrowing substantially. This slide is showing how the debt grew from 1.5 billion in 2020 to 7.27 billion in 2025. So Guyana, even as an oil producing country, is still borrowing from the international agencies to finance a lot of the infrastructure and other development works that are taking place there. The debt to GDP ratio at this point in time, even though we are borrowing, is 24 to 27%, stands somewhere there, which is a relatively low compared to the other Caribbean countries' debt to GDP ratio, 24 to 27%, relatively low. It means that we can continue to borrow if that is the way to stimulate economic growth going forward. There is also what is called the Guyana Sovereign Wealth Fund, or otherwise known as the National Resource Fund. This was established in 2019, and the money, some of the reserves that are put aside in this fund as a must. You know, it is a case where they have written up the laws to ensure that we don't spend all the money in this era. So some of that money must, by law, be put aside through this fund to benefit current and future generations of Guyanese. The current assets in this fund that in 2025 stands at 1,400,000,000+ billion US dollars. So the fund is there and it is projected to grow substantially over the next couple of years. Further to that, what is the GDP growth rate over the period since we are producing oil? I have some figures here that shows that in 2020, the GDP in billions of US dollars was only 6.5 billion US dollars in 2020. And 21, 84 billion US dollars, then 14, then 17.1 billion. And by 2024, it was 24.84 billion. 2025, those figures projected 25.06 billion US dollars is our GDP. And in the growth rate section, you can see Guyana is experiencing significant growth over the period 2020 to 2025. And it starts with a 5%, 5.75% growth rate in 2020. And it peaked in 2022 at 63.33%, went down a bit in 2023 to 33.8%. 2024, 43.6%. And in 2025, the growth rate is estimated to be just over 10%. And the reason for this decline in the figure for 2025 is that the production process to bring new wells online takes time. You know, I think there are 3 production lines currently producing the 6.75 billion barrels of oil. And to increase that amount, it takes a year or 2 before it can expand the oil production and to grow the revenue. So that would be the reason why in 2024 to 2025, the growth rate stands at only 10.03%. And the GDP per capita has grown, as you can see, from 2020, it was about 6.7 or 6.8%, or 6,800 US dollars per person, to 9,600 in 2021, to 18,263,000 in 2022, to 21,000 in 2023, 29,800 in 2024, and 34,000 in 2025. So the GDP per capita has significantly increased. Now, as any ordinary person doing this analysis would want to believe that, oh boy, the Guyanese people are so much better off than before oil. That would be a good conclusion to assume, that the Guyanese are far better off at 34,000 US dollars per capita. But as we can see later on, I'm going to try to see how we can use other figures to see how we can see what is happening in the economy and what the Guyanese are actually experiencing. The next slide is showing foreign direct investment in Guyana, post-oil 2020, 2025. That too has increased substantially. These figures here, I think the one 2020, 2021, I think it is 2.4 billion, 2.4 rather than 2 billion, 2.4 billion US dollars. That went down in 2022. There was a drop in foreign direct investment to just 0.44 of a billion. And in 2023, it increased again substantially to 7.2 billion and to 8.3 billion in 2024. So there's an inflow, an increase in direct foreign investment. But this is expected since the Exxon and the stakeholders in the oil industry are the ones that are investing and bringing in the investment capital to increase the production in the oil sector. So most of this foreign direct investment is to feed the expansion of the oil industry in Guyana. In foreign exchange rates, from 2020 to 2025, a critical index is showing that the Guyana exchange rate is really stable at between 200 Guyana dollar and 215 Guyana dollar per US dollar. And I can tell you that this has been so for the last 40 years or thereabout. So the exchange rate has stabilized, it hasn't moved. And one would have expected by now that the foreign exchange rate should have slightly appreciated rather than stabilized. And in some instances, you find that even between the 2020 and 2025, you find that the exchange rate had actually devalued rather than appreciated during this period. Following that, I'm looking at some of the investments that government has made between 2020 and 2025 as a result of the petrodollars flowing into the country. You find that budgetary allocation in agriculture moved from about 18.4 billion in 2020 to approximately 104.6 billion by 2025. So there have been substantial government spending in the agriculture sector since 2020. So there is an attempt to diversify the economy, even as oil still continues to play an important role in the economy. I haven't read here, note well, in 2025, a study identified Guyana as the only country in the world that is fully self-sufficient and able to feed itself. Fully self-sufficient and able to feed itself. The only country that has had that remarkable achievement. This is just a picture of basically some of the people shopping in Georgetown. Construction sector. This has seen the most investment. I don't see a figure. I don't know if I have a figure somewhere, but this has seen the most investment. Construction has been massive budget support to receive massive budget support, especially in infrastructure, roads, bridges, alongside significant funding in housing, water, sanitation, education, health, buildings, drainage, you name it. It has been happening in Guyana over the last 5 years. And I have some pictures here that I just want to share of that development that is taking place. In this slide here, we have on the right side what I would call the old Demerara River Bridge. This is a bridge that is over 1.125 miles that span the Demerara River, linking what we call Region 3 to Region 4, which is the capital of Guyana. And it has served its purpose. It overserved its purpose. It was meant to last 30 years, but it is still going at about 50 years. So it's about 20 years that's past its time to retire. And the bridge to the left is showing the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, which don't have the same problems like the old bridge of needing to stop the traffic so that ships can pass. Here, there's a high span for all the ships that need to pass under the bridge. It's a 4-lane, hence we expect traffic to move freely between what we call the west coast of Demerara and the east bank of Demerara. And so there have been a lot of improvement. This bridge has been just opened in August, September of this year. Then we have in the health sector, there have been massive construction in developing new hospitals. There have been 8 or more new hospitals that have been developed since 2020 to 2025. And there are some specialty hospitals also that have been developed since 2020 to 2025. So the government has been spending the money as far as possible in some of the right directions. Here are some of the roads. It said over 2,685 miles of roads have been constructed since 2020. Of significance is the road construction, which is still in progress, from Georgetown to Lethem. Lethem is our farthest hinterland city or township that borders Brazil. And there has always, over the last since I am born, there have always been a cry to have an all-weather road that can get people safely from Georgetown to Lethem, as we expect to do more business with our bordering country, Brazil, and hence increase our flows of revenue through that. But we are getting there. The road that you see on the right side, that is the construction that is going on currently on the road from Linden, which is a township as part of the in-transit port from Georgetown, from Lethem, and they are building this road, as you can see. And on the left side, these are some of the new highways and roads that the government has invested in over the last 4 to 5 years. We have here, in this slide, we have one of the problems with Guyana is that it lies about 6 to 7 feet below the sea level. And when I speak about the sea level, I'm talking about the Atlantic Ocean. It is 6 to 7 feet below the Atlantic Ocean. And as you can see on the right side, where you see that water is overflowing, it is what we call the seawall. It is that seawall, that sea defense structure prevents the Atlantic from invading the capital city and all the other cities along the coastal belt, the northern coastal belt of Guyana. And as you can see, the height of that Atlantic at times can overtop onto the streets and so on, and create flooding And so this forever would be a critical point of our development in Guyana. Have to find ways and means of trying to push back the Atlantic by all kinds of means, maybe higher walls and other sea defense structures. I know they have planted up some mangroves and so on that is doing a wonderful job of breaking the waves and so on. But Guyana lives under the threat of the Atlantic every day, and it creates a problem. The picture to the left is also at the seawalls, but this is the seawalls in Kingston, where the government has over the last 2 to 3 years have decorated and have secured the wall. But if you were to look carefully at the brown sand to the right of the picture, and you look past the flag, you can see what I mean by the how Guyana is low as compared to the sea levels that are there. We are about 6 to 7 feet below there, you know. Okay. Again, the government has spent substantial sums in housing. They have developed over 110 new housing schemes with over 3,876 housing units. And you know, that is very substantial with respect to solving some of the housing problems in the city and elsewhere in Guyana. Now, what I am saying is not only that the roads and the housing and etc. has been only in the city. Most of this development has taken place throughout the 87,000 square miles of Guyana. In all of the regions and so on, there have been substantial development in infrastructure, housing, and so on. So the picture to the right is showing one of those districts recently developed, and the picture to the left is showing the new police headquarters building, which is a 12-story building that they have recently constructed, not fully occupied as yet, but that is showing a 12-story, maybe the highest police outpost in the English-speaking Caribbean. In slide 22, I want to look at some of the other things apart from the niceties that we have gone through. I want us to look at the unemployment rate that is affecting Guyana from 2020 to 2024. And I am comparing this with the unemployment rates in Latin America and the Caribbean over that period, which has an average of 6.24% unemployment. So in Guyana in 2020, the unemployment rate was 15%. And then by 2021, 14.53, 2022, 12.01, 2023, 12.03, 2024, 10.20, and 2025, 13%. It shows that Guyana still have a long way to go in catching up with employment and in terms of investment that can reduce the level of employment, despite what you have seen before. The unemployment rate is ridiculously still high. What about our corruption perceived index, given this inflow of funds? I couldn't leave this out. You know, I couldn't leave out this index because the Guyanese people are feeling that the current government or the government in power is corrupt, and a lot of the oil wealth and oil money is being ciphered off. And I can't tell you that, but I can just look at the index to see what it is indicating to us. And I'm going to just make some comparisons here. Barbados, out of a corruption price index of 100, with 100 being the highest level that you can attain, Barbados has a score of 69 and ranked among the 180 countries that we use this index at 23. And it is observed to be the least corrupt country in the Caribbean, the least corrupt, Barbados. Jamaica, out of a score of 100, has 44 and is ranked 73. Trinidad, out of that score of 100, the CPI score is 41 and is ranked 82nd, out of the 180 countries. Guyana, on the other hand, has a score of 40 and ranked at 87 and is observed to be the most corrupt country in the Caribbean. So even with all the nice roads, buildings, and so on, the Guyanese people are still being shortchanged, as the index is revealing to us. Major threats to sustain economic growth and development in Guyana. What are some of the threats that would hamper growth? And the very first one is political and ethnic problems. We have a lot of problems, and I'm surprised that I didn't show it here, but one of the index that I saw was that when we look at inequality, is that the Afro-Guyanese have suffered more so to the rising power by and income by the Indian class in the country. And you find that, so we have ethnic problems that is showing that there's a widening of the gap between ethnicities, the ruling party and its people, and the other minorities in the country. There are widening gap there. There's a shortage of skilled and semi-skilled labor, and that is very important for other Caribbean countries because, as I said, Guyana is going to grow, and I believe Guyana is going to grow despite the corruption and all the other challenges. And hence, you find that there would be opportunities for employment and so on in Guyana. There's a shortage of those skills. Corruption, as I said before, I won't go back there, but corruption includes poor quality of work executed on government projects. There is nepotism, where people favorite to the ruling party are giving most of the contracts. For power generation, Guyana is still suffering severe blackouts on a daily basis, despite they have rented a power barge, and some other stuff to keep us going, And the plan is to have a oil to gas, what you call it, project that would increase the power generation, but that would be maybe over the next year or two. There's a lack of adequate planning, things are being done by political whims and fancies, and hence you find that there's haphazard planning. Most importantly, one of the threats Guyana faces is the threat of Venezuela claim of over 3/5 of Guyana, and that threat has been increasing given since we have found oil in the Stabroek Block. That threat has increased, and I know some people may ask me what I think about the Venezuela-US issue and the Guyana area. So I won't answer that now. And summary is that the data suggests that Guyanese are better off post-oil discovery and production. However, as the data suggests, income equality is rising not only by social groups, but also by ethnic divisions. Oil production and mining, primary sectors, account for a high level of economic growth and development that is taking place in the country. However, I'm saying much is to be feared from the Dutch disease. And then I have here proper accountability and auditing is required in the management of the budgetary allocations and government projects, tendering, etc., in order to ensure that Guyanese benefit from the maximum allocation of the country's oil reserves. I'm just bringing me to the end of my presentation this evening.
Is you there, President Zuri?
I was just about to say thank you for the presentation and say maybe we could do about 2 or so questions because we are pressed for time. So I'll give 2 persons the opportunity to ask questions. And I see
President.
Dr. Eurydice with her hand up, so I'll allow her to ask a question. Now, do you also have a question, PDT?
I'll go after Dr. Eurydice.
Okay, so we'll make those our 2 questions. Dr. Eurydice?
Hi, good evening, President.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. It's a great presentation and very eye-opening, so thank you so much. But can you please tell me what is the Dutch disease?
The Dutch disease is something that was observed in Holland when they discovered it some time ago. And I think it says to you that when a country is dependent on just one main export, like oil and so on, you find that there is a inflow of foreign exchange. Just like in Guyana, you find that almost 90% of our revenues come from oil. And hence you find that that inflow of foreign exchange can cause the Guyana dollar to appreciate, that is, become stronger. And when a country's currency becomes stronger, people tend to buy more foreign goods because they can now purchase more foreign goods than before. And that has a negative effect on competing local goods that they would move away from that are high priced. And hence you find that those sectors tend to suffer and the economy in general tends to suffer. I don't know if you follow.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate your response. Thanks.
Okay, there. Thanks.
PDT, before you ask your question, just to say, if there are others who have questions, we usually stick around after the end of the meeting. So if Kiwane and Maurice is available at that time, we could probably continue with those questions then. Right? Or go ahead, PDT.
Yeah, my question is a very informative presentation. But despite those record-breaking GDP growth, it is estimated that 58 to 60% of Guyanese still live in poverty. And the reason for that is that when the oil companies are making over $10 billion in profit, the government revenue equates to about $2 billion. And because of the spread. And then there is which you alluded to, the ethnic part of it, where it is said that they were moving Afro-Guyanese from their homes to make way for the oil companies. And at the same time, they were not benefiting as much as the Indo-Guyanese. How do you comment on that?
Yes, you are quite correct that most of the revenue that we generate and the GDP figures generate, most of those revenues flow right back to the home countries of those entities, Exxon and the other entities that were mentioned. And so the revenue that we pick up is really just the bits and pieces that is there. However, I think that even now, Guyana is thankful for those bits and pieces, because as you can see, it is still has a positive effect on growing the economy, providing the infrastructure works and development, health, hospitals, roads, etc., and all the rest of it. However, when it comes to this thing about the inequality, as I mentioned, as you mentioned, there is not a perception, but it's a real perception that the contracts and all the other government projects, etc., benefits only a few in the, or most people within that ethnic bracket. And so you find that maybe about 95% of the contracts are yielded out to those persons, relatives, friends, people who have never built a road is now given a 25-mile road to build, etc., etc. The quality is poor. It mash up, it breaks up in within months and days of just being, you have to repair it and all the rest of it. And so funds go back again into that pool of friends and family to fix and so on. It's a wheel within a wheel within a wheel of corruption.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again, Kiwani and Maurice, and like I said to all persons on the platform, if you are interested in continuing the discussions, as long as he's available, you will be afforded the opportunity to do so once the meeting has formally closed, as we usually stick around after. So to do the official thank you to our guest speaker this evening, I'm going to invite Director Rupert Whitaker to do the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Prez. Every time I hear about Guyana, my ears perk up. Those of us who remember the days when the Caribbean, at least in the CARICOM region, Jamaica and Guyana were always perceived to be at the bottom of the economic ladder. And it's good to see Guyana finding oil. I hope we find some too. Thank you, Doc, for sharing with us. You gave us a whole lot of information. Some of us who didn't know much about Guyana learned of the value of natural resources. We also were informed about the fact that those who control the exploitation of those resources usually get the lion's share. And we can learn a thing or two from Guyana. We can also, I think, just from your presentation, see that we can exploit some of the opportunities that are there. Guyana, although almost self-sufficient or self-sufficient in food, we can export a lot of stuff to them down south. And thanks for that information. I always say about you that the reason why you have such knowledge was that you were preparing yourself to be a member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. Thank you. On behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, sir, where you're a member, thank you so much for telling us about Guyana and the oil, telling us about not only the positives, but the negatives. Thank you for widening our perspectives. Thank you for sharing with us. We're going to be giving you, as usual, that certificate that we share with all our presenters. Even though you're one of us, we are going to make sure, even a little bottle of water we had to it, sir. May you have a good time this year. Enjoy your teaching, Doc. Blessings to you and family from all of us at the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and all those who are online tonight.
Thank you. Thanks a million.
Thank you, Director Rupert. And as it's the start of the year and some people are still in that good cheer mode and some persons are still in that giving spirit and still celebrating, I am going to be extending a moratorium on fines from the Sarge for this evening. but you know what happens with moratoriums, that you still have to cover the bill. So for this evening, I say that you enjoy the break and see you next week when you will be asked to cover the bill for this week. Dear G. Willie, I am now going to pass the mic to you for notices and announcements and interclubbing opportunities.
Thank you, President. Regarding notices, on Thursday evening, we'll be having a meeting, an interview committee. We're hoping to interview at least three persons who are interested in being members of the club. This is going to be held at Distinguished Lieutenant Governor-elect Stan's office, 84 Lady Musgrave Road at 6 p.m. We have reassurance from 3. We're hoping that all 4 will attend. That's on Thursday, but the Wednesday following, let me just reaffirm what President Zuri said regarding the Basil Dawkins play. The proceeds from this play is going towards the gifts or the cane for the children at the Salvation Army for the Blind. So it's a very useful project. Those who want to make contributions, please, you can contact me and indicate where we can make deposit the funds. And then the last item of news, I've just got confirmation from past President-elect Garfield Wynn that he has reassured me that the television, the 55-inch LG TV will be available for a prize, and we're hoping that proceeds from this fundraiser will go entirely to the St. Christopher's Home for the Deaf. So hopefully between now and weekend, the tickets will be printed, books will start to be distributed, and the drawing will be made on March 31st. So that's the upcoming raffle. Cost of the tickets will be $500 each. That's all for now. In terms of interclubbing opportunities, I will circulate those as I get invitations from the respective clubs. Hopefully we have one on Thursday, and certainly on next week, Monday. We have been invited to downtown Kingston for their meeting at 1 o'clock. So, President, that's over to you. Perhaps there are clubs that would like to make announcements.
Thank you, dear G. Willie. And at this time, we will open the floor to any club that's on or any person that's on who wish to make an announcement at this time. Going once. Going twice.
May I just make an announcement, President Zuri, on behalf of President Kalisha from Dunoon Park Key Club. She hasn't set the date, but this month she'll be having her installation of officers, to which the club will be invited, and which the Lieutenant Governor for Division 1 will be present to do, Alexia Abrams. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, DLG. So let's start again. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, gone. So for the thought for this week, I'm going to leave you with the words of Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And with that said, this meeting, I invite us all to join and raise your imaginary, literal, figurative glass with me in a toast to Kiwanis International and to Jamaica, land we love. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston is now terminated. I wish for you all a very good evening. Remember, if you have any questions for Kiwani and Maurice, I think he's still on, you can go ahead and ask those questions. If not, I think DJ Stu is probably on, so he'll play some music for us. If not, so you can stick around and still continue to enjoy the fellowship and camaraderie. Thank you all again.
Yeah, I won't start the music just yet. I wanted to ask, sometimes you hear a lot of things or you see different YouTube videos. And I'm wondering, Maurice, you hear me? I just want to make sure you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
Good.
Hearing you.
What has there been any talk? I'm not sure if you touched on this, but has there been any talk about renegotiating the original agreement?
At every election cycle, there is by both parties that they would renegotiate the contract or the agreement with Exxon and the others. But I don't think Guyana has a strong bargaining power to increase or to get a better, a more favorable outcome from the current contract as it exists, simply because these are some big multi-billion, trillion-dollar companies, and Guyana is just a small peg in the whole agreement process. And again, as I said, with the threat of Venezuela, as I mentioned earlier, wanting to claim over 3/5 of Guyana, you find that these companies have the necessary security backative by the American government to protect Guyana in any case of an invasion. So we are depending on the Americans to come to our defense should Venezuela invade, and they would do so more so given that they have interest in the oil fields in Guyana. So to that extent, I figure that we just take what we get at this point in time. The tone that I hear from them is that renegotiating the contract sets some amount of instability in dealing with Guyana as a good partner in business. And so for them to have a consistent, sustained development policy in the oil industry currently, they need some amount of stability, hence no contract renewal.
I've seen figures ranging from, 2% to even in the teens by different countries in terms of,
yes.
And sometimes it's not so much, what I'm trying to say is that even if you think you are in a weak position, the fact is they want your oil. And
Yes,
you made some good points in terms of why you wouldn't probably rock the boat. But like even that borrowing, what did bother me is that your increased borrowing in from in over the same period when you're
earning oil revenue.
earning oil
Yes.
revenue. I wonder if even 3% or 4% would have meant you didn't have to borrow. I don't know how the numbers would come out, but
yes,
it is. But I think one thing is with Guyana, because you mentioned the revenue per population. You have less than 1 million people, so
yes,
so that kind of probably makes it possible for you to work with your population because you don't have a whole lot of people. But
right.
boy, it look kind of, it looks stingy, man.
It is so. It is so. And I think that because we have a small population, and you know, I think that the even the bitters that we get through the contract, as I said, is doing substantial infrastructure and other development. How much more that would have been if we had a bigger share, even 1 or 2%, as you said. And I am not sure with this government, even if we had 4 or 5%, if they would not have still gone and borrowed, because they seem to figure that they need to work with these all multilateral organizations and have these bilateral agreements with these big countries to keep them in their grace and all the other stuff. You know, I think I don't want to say so, but I want to think that in most cases, these multilateral uh, industries and so on, that financial industry, you find that they come and they persuade the government rather than the government going out to look for loans, persuade the government that now that they have this money, they can spend up front, they can borrow, and so on, and hence,
Can borrow against future earnings.
future earnings. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I think that is it.
What's the general feeling though among the people? I mean, in terms of the man in the streets, the ordinary people. What is
Well,
their
it all depends on which man in the street you talk to. If you talk to an Afro-Guyanese or you talk to Indo-Guyanese, then you get two different views. That is why I did not want to come to conclusions as to how it's impacting the Guyanese people, and I just try to let the data speak for itself. Uh, because if you talk to an Afro-Guyanese about what is happening in Guyana post oil production, you find that most of them would tell you that they don't feel as though the wealth is coming down to their level. And hence they depend on government, sometimes have what is called the government pay out this yearly cash grant and so on to get a feel good feeling that you get some of the oil money to spend. So it is the cash grant that the government would keep promising, and you get $100,000 to go out and do what you have to do with that, and that is it. But the actual flow of wealth, even as the manufacturing sector pick up, the agriculture sector pick up, the service industries pick up, is that being filtered down to specific sectors of the economy, and
what
hence you find that there is a lot of dissatisfaction.
what about
At,
what about the
at
house?
level.
Sorry, what about the housing? You mentioned that number of housing units being built. How are
Yes.
they? How do people access it? And isn't that one of the ways in which the government can give back to the people? How is that distribution going? How does it work?
Well, a number of things involved in that. One is that there have been a significant number of foreign influence, people migrating and so on, immigrating into
Oh,
Guyana, people from
you mean the
Brazil,
foreigners buying up those houses?
foreigners, right? They have Venezuelans there, they have people all from Cuba. When you pass through the streets of Guyana, you hear all the various languages. They have people from Suriname who speak Dutch, So there is a inflow of Europeans as well. So you find that a lot of that
So,
maybe they're
sorry.
buying
Let
by,
me ask you this: is it
yes.
private developers putting up the thing or government financing it? What I'm trying to find out is they didn't build the housing in a way that it's more affordable for the people. That's what I'm trying to get at. Or
I
it's just
understand that.
it's not like that. It don't go so.
It consists of both government and public sector housing spending and private sector. But the difference between the two is hardly noticeable in terms of pricing. You know, the government, one of the things that the government is trying to do is to uh, much of the new lands that are becoming available as to the road network being expanded into these uh, previously abandoned sugar estate areas and so on, you find that the government is clearing the land and putting in the necessary infrastructure and then trying to sell the land at a reasonable price to Guyanese. Through that process, you may access the land, but you may still have to get a private developer to put up the structure. On the other hand, with the government's projects where the government build, you know, and it is true partnership with the private sector as well, you know, that the government is contracting private contractors to put up the structures and so on. And the price really is not affordable to most Guyanese, put it that way. You know, so be it private or public sector, the price is still too high, and hence create problem for buyers like me.
I find it, sorry, go ahead, somebody can go ahead, and then I come after. Go ahead. I heard another voice. Okay, maybe that person disappeared. You know, from the days of Forbes Burnham and Chetty Jagan, right? Or Jagan,
yes,
depending how you pronounce it. You know, your politics has always been strictly, you know, Afro versus the Indian community. And what you're saying now, I mean, I know the current president is an Indian, is of Indian origin. So you have an
yes.
opposition leader who is kind of black. Is that what you have now? I don't know who the opposition leader is.
Well, the main political parties prior to the elections, the national elections that were held in September, I think it was September the 2nd or sometime September or August. Last year, they had the PNC, and which has morphed into the APNU party, which was Forbes Burnham party, and the PPP party, which was, as you said, Chetty Jagan's party. And those were the two main political parties over the last, since independence, since going back to 1953, you know, when those parties split and formed separate entities. Now, what resulted in the last election was that there was a newcomer who was once part of the PPP, a Muslim, an Indian guy, you know, who had a strong following of both Afro and Indo-Guyanese. And he, very wealthy young man with his father, you know, was able to do the things that the PNC could not have done leading up to the election, spend a lot of funds and to get many Afro-Guyanese and Indo-Guyanese in his camp and so on. So he now replaces the opposition in parliament as the main opposition party. As a matter of fact, the PNC party is almost a no-show at this point in time. The Afro-Guyanese party has, you could say to a large extent, has died.
But so this new guy, he has been bringing the two races together in his party. That's what I think I heard you say.
To some extent. And
that's good.
Yes. But then there are some other stuff relating to him and his as a genuine, wholesome, you know, individual. Because as I said, he's the wealthiest guy in he's got over $1 billion in wealth. And you know, that is a remarkable feat in
Did he
Guyana.
make his wealth outside of Ghana?
No, man, in Guyana, he made his wealth in gold and so on, you see.
Oh,
Guyana is, and a lot of that gold apparently did not pass to officials,
oh,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I
yeah.
don't want to get into that, but he made substantial uh, revenues and money from mining gold with his father and so on, you know. So the American government apparently was tracking him and asked his, you know, him to be sent up indictment in America. And the ruling party of which he was a part decided to let him loose, you know, because they don't want to associate, they don't want the party to be tarnished in as much as they are all part of the same corruption process. And he then decided to, that is where the challenge that he had now, fighting with his own party, and they fighting, want to get him locked up on several occasions, etc., for this and that, you know. And that is when he decided to become political and to start his own party. But there's still a warrant out for him to be sent to America.
Oh, yeah. But
Guyana politics.
but is that like it's not like drug trafficking or so on. So how America
No,
coming to
no.
is it local? Is it whatever he was doing? Wasn't it strictly local?
It's
Or is
on
this
that
or
way.
this or is this just another example of American overreach?
Yes, 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 yes. So the matter is in court for his extraditement and so on. So that matter is in court. And I don't quite sure if up to now, since the elections, if he has been properly being admitted into parliament.
Oh, even that.
Even that, you know.
Okay.
So there's a whole set of stuff out there, including the fact that I don't believe that the PNC, People's National Congress Party, can ever be revived at this stage.
That's the Burnham party, right?
Yes, that is the Burnham party.
PNC.
Yeah.
So the current president, he runs the same party that Jagan ran. Am I
Yes,
correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Mm.
That is correct. You know, so
what is his how is his standing in Ghana? I've seen some videos of him and seems kind of impressive. But in terms of his acceptance or his how do people rate him?
view
Or
him.
he's
Okay.
going back to the black and Indian again?
I don't think so. I think, you see, the issue with the party is not with Infant Ali, who is the current president, but it is with his vice president, who was once president, Mr. Barrett Jack Dio. Jack Dio was president when Chedi Jagan's wife died and so on. He took over from 1998, and I think he was president up to about 2010 or whatever it was. And he is the person that is the powerhouse in the PPP party, that he handpicked Ali as the president when they had some other nominees. So people perceive him to be the person that is running the government, and Ali is just a front.
Oh, okay.
There are many other things, you see, but Ali has a likable personality by everybody. And if you remove that person from at the back there, I still think he would win an election and so on. You see, because he is very impressive in terms of, you know, his charisma and so on. And people of both sides, I think, black or Indian, start to like him, you know. But the person in the background that is steering the ship is the person that is creating the problem.
Well, at some point, maybe that person's influence may wane, and we'll see, you know, because he must be pretty old, right?
No, man. Barrett
I mean,
Jagdeo I think he turned 60 recently. He got nominated as the president when he was 38 or something.
Okay.
So he's been in politics now in the high positions close to 20-something, 25 years and counted.
But there must be a reason why he didn't try to assume the presidency himself. Is it
I
that
think
he just
there is a commitment to don't serve more than 2 or 3. You can't run after 2 or 3 elections.
So he is actually a former premier or prime minister or whatever.
Prime minister, yeah, president. Yeah, he was a former president. As I said, between 1998 and 2010, 20, something like that. He was the president of the country. And he was president since he was about 38, 39. You know, so, yeah, he's pretty young still, you know. And he's the man that bring out the votes and, you know, create the divisions so that, you know.
So you say create the divisions. You mean you mean the constituencies? Is that what you mean by divisions?
No, divisions. I mean by
conflicts?
The ethnic. Yes, he promotes that type of you know, ambience or whatever it is you want to call it. That type of stuff where Indian people must feel safe only voting for an Indian party.
Well, each country must, you know, get its chance, its opportunity to devise their own future, you know, plan their own future. I guess it will evolve eventually. But
yes,
it's
I
very
think it would
interesting.
evolve.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I figure that even now with this new party, with this new Indian guy, and he's having to depend on both sides. I think that, as a matter of fact, from the evidence that is there, he might have won the last election. But as I said, corruption rules the day, and hence he's out of it, you know. But he's a very powerful player in the political sphere in Guyana at this point in time. And, you know, maybe by the next election, who knows, you know, where we can have some amount of, you know, both sides or all sides, 6 races, all voting just based on performance.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks a lot. I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to ask, you know, but good conversation. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. I just wanted to add, my mind thought, but I was just going to add that I feel that regardless of who, what, the 2%, the corruption, the Ghana is too well resourced to fail. And, you know, as I was mentioning about coal and other mining interests that has increased substantially over the period. So there is a lot of big mining companies, especially in the mineral areas, gold and diamond and so on, that are now producing tons and tons of gold in Guyana. So you find that that with the oil, etc., you know, and as I said, it's a big country with a few people. I can't imagine us feeling. What I know is that we would never become Dubai or one of those places because I don't think the people at the top has the capacity to figure that we can be the best, you know. So, you know, the quality and the areas, you know, that is there, it would always be second to the infrastructure across the Caribbean, and so on. So, but however, I still got a view that Guyana is too well resourced to fail.
Yeah. Well, I wish you and your country all the best.
Thanks a million, sir. And
Okay.
thanks to all the listeners and all the other participants here.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a million. Okay.
Mhm. Well, folks, let me just I did not stop the stream, you know, just for the conversation. But I'm gonna do that now. So let me just see that 1 second.